Welcome to the Daily Fortune, where we talk about the latest topics about finance and investment. But before that, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll know when we upload a new video. Now let's get started. Warren Buffett is one of the go-to individuals for all the investors when it comes to talking about the stock market. He owns Berkshire Hathaway, the world's largest investment corporation, and he has consistently outperformed the stock market. He just had his annual shareholder meeting. There, he discussed the stock market, the economy, and the stocks that he's buying and selling. But the most interesting part of the shareholder meeting was Warren Buffett's shocking revelation that he didn't buy any stocks in 2020. His firm, Berkshire Hathaway, has been a net seller of stocks. One of the large groups of equities that Buffett sold was all of his airline firms, including Delta American Airlines, Southwest Airlines, and United Airlines, which came as a huge surprise to most investors. In this video, we'll go over the stocks that he's selling at Berkshire Hathaway, and also we'll discuss the fundamental reasons behind Buffett's lack of stock purchases. So aside from selling his airline holdings, let's start by showing you Warren Buffett's larger stock sale. He sold the majority of his stocks in Goldman Sachs, of which he previously had 12 million shares. He sold almost 10 million of those shares, accounting for 84% of his holdings. Also, just a quick reminder, if you liked the video, please leave a like and maybe consider subscribing to see more of our content. And you could also ring the notification bell so you get notified whenever we upload a new video. Again, thanks for your time and let's get back to the video. Buffett believes that if economic problems get severe enough, even strong banks will be put under stressful situations and will be grateful for the Federal Reserve System's support. Buffett did not sell only Goldman Sachs. Also, 3% of Berkshire Hathaway's JP Morgan was laid off, which isn't quite high as Goldman Sachs' 84%, but it's something to consider. Sirius XM, the broadcasting company, was another stock on the sale list. Berkshire Hathaway sold over 4 million shares in them. Other significant names on the selling list for Berkshire include Amazon, the e-commerce giant, General Motors, and Phillips 66, the energy corporation, all of which were sold 100%. Yes, Berkshire Hathaway sold other firms as well. However, the major question here is, why has Buffett sold so many stocks but made no purchases? There are a few key factors which I'm going to share with you. The first thing to know is that it's not like Warren Buffett has any lack of cash and is why he's unable to purchase stocks. Of course, that's not the case. He just has his $137 billion in cash sitting on the sidelines, ready to be utilized. Buffett has stated that he intends to deploy a reasonable amount of cash, and he has stated that they are willing to do something extremely big. The first key reason Buffett isn't buying any stocks is because he can't find anything attractive to buy at the current stock prices. Here's what Warren Buffett said about stock prices last year. In the years ahead, we hope to move much of our excess liquidity, excess cash, into firms that Berkshire will own permanently. However, the short-term prospects are not promising. For businesses with promising long-term potential, prices are sky high. Buffett, for example, can't seem to find any deals and many other value investors. However, those who have read all of Warren Buffett's shareholder letters over the years will find them fascinating and interesting. Maybe some of you have seen similarities between Buffett's current statements and his statements from 1987. In a shareholder letter to shareholders in 1987, Buffett remarked, "Epic, sure. We've found little to do in stocks during the past years, and we currently find no equities that come close to meeting our test. Other than what we consider permanent or arbitrage holdings, we had no large common stock invests in 1987. It's quite similar to what he's saying now as it was in 1987. Some of you may recall what happened in the stock market at the time. To sum things up, investors did not have a good time during those times. It went downhill quickly and took 3 to 4 years to recover. But let's go on to the other point, which is that Buffett appears to be skeptical about where the market is headed in the short term. Those who have watched his annual shareholder meeting will know what I'm talking about. I'm not sure whether you noticed, but Buffett was much more careful with his statements and investing advice, particularly when discussing the short term. He was hesitant to discuss the stock markets in the next few years, instead stating that investing is fine as long as it's done for the long term. Invest as if you own a farm, Buffett said. Hold it for at least 20 to 30 years and don't look at the price. I agree with this method of investing, but it does make me wonder what might happen in the stock market over the next few years. in the short term, medium term, and long term. The next reason I'm going to discuss for Buffett's non-buying is the uncertainty surrounding consumer spending and corporate profitability, and it's something that many of you may not understand if you're not familiar with stock valuation. As you can see, US value investors seek to purchase a stock at a discount on its intrinsic value. We need to know the cash flow and profits to figure out the intrinsic value. However, it's incredibly difficult to predict what companies will make last 2020, as well as how much consumers will spend this year and in the years ahead. Uncertainty is a company's worst fear, and it's having a negative influence on US investors. I think it's almost impossible to predict where consumer and corporate demand is going to come from, and because of that, it's hard to create an evaluation for businesses, said Mark Cuban, the billionaire and Mavericks owner. He then went on to tell CNBC that he was surprised at how stocks have recovered so far, saying, "I think people are naturally optimistic right now in terms of the markets. I just don't think they're rarely factoring in what we are going to see on the other side." The Fed and the extremely fascinating actions that they've been making is the last reason I'm going to be discussing. Since the beginning of the crisis last March 2020, the Federal Reserve has promised to pump over $4 trillion into the financial sector. They've lowered interest rates, loosened banking regulations, and increased lending dramatically. Maybe this topic is something negative, but one of the positive aspects of a recession is that bad companies, those who do not manage their finances correctly and have terrible business strategies, go out of business. The Federal Reserve has pledged to cooperate with large corporations on loan and bond issues of up to $750 billion. That has also committed up to $600 billion in additional lending to small and medium-sized businesses. Of course, the Fed must intervene to some extent to maintain market stability, but over $4 trillion in the financial system is a large sum of money. At the end of the day, we're basically living in one of the strangest periods in history when it comes to the stock market and investment. So many unexpected underlying reasons are causing so much uncertainty. But the most important thing is we must always focus on what we can do. As investors, we must ensure that our portfolio is bulletproof. We have to buy companies with strong business models and financial sheets. Make sure we have appropriate hedges in our portfolio, such as gold and, of course, significant cash reserves. We have no influence over market situations. It is beyond our control, but we do have control over our decisions in investing. That's what we can do. So let's be prepared and focus on those and make sure we don't forget them. Thank you for watching. So that's it for today. I hope you learned something from today's video, and to get updated with the next videos, don't forget to hit the notification bell. See you next time.